Hello and welcome to Errol Anderson's Advanced Portfolio Evaluation for OCR Media Studies. The aim of this presentation is to evaluate both the main product and ancillary tasks which I completed over year 13. I'm going to start off with the forms and conventions of my film poster. The main image features the two main actors in a back-to-back stance, recognizable from existing films within the romantic comedy genre. In doing so, the film immediately attracts a targeted demographic. Also, the appearance and costumes of the characters may lead the viewer to assume the genre, which again targets our chosen audience. The image has been centered to accentuate it as the main focal point, and the poster itself also challenges perceptions of the nerd stock type, with the use of a young black working class male rather than a white middle class male. The film title is the largest piece of text on the copy, emphasizing its importance as well as making it easily legible. I use this particular font due to its inclusion of love hearts, making the genre more apparent from the font alone. The main colour of the whole copy is pink, which regularly connotes love and/or relationships. Bearing in mind the film genre, I specifically chose the date February 14th as a play to target a more relevant audience. The tagline cleverly reveals an element of the storyline which is interesting and leaves the viewer wanting to find out more, whilst the use of the past tense hints at a possible relationship between the male protagonist and someone else within the narrative. Now onto the film magazine front cover. The masthead is the largest and most prominent piece of text on the copy, portraying its significance as an essential convention of the magazine form, which I chose to conform to. It has also been centrally aligned to center the focus of the reader here. The model, the male protagonist from the film, maintains direct eye contact with the viewer, creating intrigue and possibly persuading them to buy this particular title. The costume used parallels the style of the other texts in order to make the project as authentic as possible. Although not a famous actor, the model's youthful appearance, alongside phrases such as heartthrob and sexy, will appeal immensely to our teenage target audience. I used the conventional medium close-up shot for the mag in order to get both the head and shoulders of the model whilst also limiting extraneous space. I used a distinct three-tone colour scheme of pink, black and white to support the consistency of the other tasks. I also used this fact to give this issue a particular theme centered around romance films. I also felt it important to include other relevant information such as price, barcode and website, conventional features of the typical. For the forms and conventions of the film trailer, I will look at two major aspects, the first of which is about the conventional trailer's introduction of main characters. I ensured that the audience was aware of the stars of the film by including clips of their various entrances. Although not well-known actors, I still tried to bear in mind the fact that the audience needs to be able to familiarise with the cast, hence the long cut of this shot here. The aim was for the viewer to work out their personality from the trailer alone. Next, genre. As a teenage romantic comedy, it was an obvious choice to include both a male and female teen. The storyline plotted the geeky male's eventual relationship with the popular girl of the college, stock types which were highlighted by the use of props, such as the nerd glasses shown here. The combination of my products was relatively effective in assimilating existing film campaigns. Bearing this in mind, I aim to keep a level of consistency throughout. As mentioned earlier, the three-tone colour scheme was maintained throughout all the coursework. I tried to stress the genre of Love Squared through continued use of relevant iconography and themes. Although it may not have come across too well, I tried to emphasise the fact that the production was based in East London, something that I would like to make more apparent if I was to do it again. With changes to the cast, however, it may be unclear to the viewer which characters are involved. In hindsight, I now know to only ask reliable people when casting members. Elements such as the font have been implemented at all stages of the task. Having completed the trailer, our group decided to hold a viewing session for members of our college and teachers. At the end of the viewing, we handed the audience questionnaires in order to gain feedback from them. One of the questions asked, how quickly did you grasp what genre of film the trailer belonged to, and what made this most obvious to you? The majority of the audience was able to guess the genre within the first 30 seconds, which was pleasing to see. This is even more important when considering that this early period can be make or break for a trailer in terms of keeping the attention of the consumer. Another question that was asked was, did the trailer fully explain the most essential information? And these were some of the answers that were received. I gathered what type of film it was really quickly. The female character was different in the trailer and on the poster. It did feature the names of the actors involved. The internet proved a vital part of the research and planning stages of my work for several reasons. Many of the images of magazines, film posters, etc. came from various websites on the internet. When trying to find information about the genres we were covering, sites such as YouTube were essential for viewing existing trailers. Social networking sites such as Twitter and Facebook were used when communicating ideas between the team when working outside of class. In order to display our work, we used hosting service Wikispaces. Various applications within MS Office such as PowerPoint, Excel and Word were also used during the research and planning stages. When formulating a questionnaire feedback, I used MS Excel to collate the data into graphs and tables. I used MS Word for my various analyses of existing media formats. MS PowerPoint was used when presenting certain aspects of my work, and also for the majority of the work uploaded onto Wikispaces. Here are some examples of me using the described software. During construction, I made extensive use of Photoshop CS3 in order to manipulate my images and other features. In order to assimilate existing products as well as possible, I felt it was important to try and use professional software. This particular program is one used in the industry. Having used this program in my own time, I had a good knowledge of it, which made production time more efficient. When trying to find appropriate fonts for my work, I used font database thefont.com because of its wide range of styles and accessibility. All fonts could easily be downloaded into a zip file onto my computer, which I could then put onto Word or whatever other program I was using. Images were taken using a 7 megapixel digital camera, which allowed me to create photos of a sufficient quality. For some of the practice photos beforehand, I also used my phone camera, which had a lower resolution, yet allowed me to prepare for the main task by getting a feel for angles and composition. A combination of Sony Vegas 9.0 and Adobe Premiere Elements 2.1 were used for editing the film that we captured. Adobe Premiere Elements 2.1 is a professional software used a lot in the industry. Having never used the software before, I found it rather difficult to use to start with. However, with knowledge of Photoshop from the same company, I slowly learned how to use it. My group had some technical difficulties whilst trying to transfer data from the video camera to the PC, as we used Fireware 400 rather than the more familiar USB. With this program at home, I believe that my editing time would have been much quicker and efficient. For capturing film, we used one of the video cameras provided by the college, which was sometimes time consuming and frustrating due to the signing in and out system. Using the camera was quite easy as all the cameras shared the same basic functions and at a similar quality. In the future I would use my own camera because it would be more convenient and available to use whenever I needed it. Fruity Loops Studio 7 was used to make the background music for the trailer. I use this particular software because I use it on a regular basis to make my own music recreationally, and therefore have a good understanding of how it works. During evaluation, I used Windows Movie Maker in order to produce the slideshow now being watched. I also used the inbuilt microphone within my laptop to record the voiceover. Although rather time consuming, I found this method of presentation very impressive and more accurate than any other one I found. Thank you for watching this presentation.